grab your popcorn, mix in some of that sweet, sweet candy, sip on that extra large slushie, and welcome to YYZ Video, your film book club of choice. As always, a friendly reminder, Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ plus lives matter. This is Press YYZ's bi-weekly film review series where we are taking a set of movies, in this case starting with Pixar, and we ranking them all, baby. I'm your host with the most, Mr. Mitch George, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host. He only does everything, Nicholas Blaine.
What's up?
A.k.a. Shotgun McPain.
I got so much to juggle over here. Look at this. Oh, juggling. I'm learning. Here we go.
The man of many hot takes, Mr. T.J. Beckham.
This show is a travesty.
And our film baby, Alex Ballin.
An enemy.
As always, we are here for your viewing and listening pleasure on YouTube, where we appreciate a like, sub, comment, all that stuff, as well as on any podcast service which you may want to consume as this show. In this episode, we are focusing on the phenomenal Finding Nemo. Directed by Andrew Stanton, director of WALL-E and Finding Dory, as well as co-directed by Lee Unkrich, who went on to direct Toy Story 3. This film was released May 30th, 2003, the first Pixar film not to release in November, and it went on to win the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, the first Pixar film to do so. Yeah. It was nominated in 3 other categories, including Best Original Screenplay. Additionally, it became the highest-grossing animated film at all time when released, and was the second highest-grossing film of 2003, earning a total of $871 million worldwide by the end of its initial theatrical run. Fuck you,
just
TJ.
$870. Like 8 people saw this.
800. That was me.
We gave it all the fill out back.
Yeah.
Finding Nemo also went on to, at the time, become the best-selling DVD of all time, with over 40 million copies sold as of 2006, and was the highest-grossing G-rated film of all time before. Can you guys guess what film beat it at the box office?
Frozen
or just in general grossing?
Shrek 2.
Ooh.
Nope.
Oh wait, no. That's rated.
50 Shades of Grey.
Animated. Or no, G-rated. G-rated, sorry.
Snow Dogs. I don't know, man.
Toy Story 3.
Wow.
Toy Story 3.
Wow, that was a long time.
The film was re-released in 3D in 2012. In 2008, the American Film Institute named it as the 10th greatest animated film ever made as part of its 10 top 10 lists. In 2016, a poll of international critics conducted by the BBC, Finding Nemo was voted one of the 100 greatest motion pictures since the year 2000. Its sequel, Finding Dory, which we'll talk about in a bit, was released in June 2016 to critical and commercial success. The film stars Albert Brooks as Marlin, a clownfish, and the titular Finding Nemo, Nemo's father. Fun fact about that, Albert Brooks, not the first actor to be cast as Marlin. William H. Macy was actually the original casting choice of Marlin, and they actually did record a bunch of the film with him. But if I can find my little fact sheet here, where the fuck did I put it? It's here somewhere. According to James B. Stewart's book, Disney War, it was after seeing an early cut of the film with Macy's voice that then CEO of Disney, Michael Eisner, infamously told his board of directors, "This will be a reality check for those guys. It's okay, but nowhere near as good as their previous films. Of course they think it's great. Trust me, it's not." Director Andrew Stanton recast the role of Marlin with Albert Brooks, who was his original choice for the role, and the film went on to get some of Pixar's best reviews ever and become the highest-grossing animated film of all time. Even worse for Eisner, Disney's distribution contract with Pixar was close to expiring at this time, and he was facing a difficult decision of trying to renew it with Pixar's then owner, Steve Jobs, who already disliked Eisner before he insulted this film. The situation with Disney and Pixar was in danger of losing. They were in danger of, irreconcilable differences with their most consistent production partner because of Eisner's comments. But as we know, and we've talked about at length on this show, when Bob Iger came in and took over as Disney CEO, his first move was to make sure that he repaired the relationship with Pixar, and the rest is history.
Read Ride of Lifetime, that's it.
Yeah, read Ride of a Lifetime. Phenomenal book. Ellen DeGeneres stars in this film as Dory, a blue tang fish with short-term memory loss. Alexander Gould as Nemo, Marlin's only surviving son. Willem Dafoe here as Gil, an idle fish living in an aquarium in the dentist's office and leader of the tank gang. Brad Garrett makes his second appearance in this series as Bloat. The aquarium is porcupine fish. Originally, we saw Brad Garrett voicing the beetle in Bug's Life.
Dim.
Right? Dim. Yes, thank you. Allison Janney, who I did not realize until right now voices Pete. Does he star in the aquarium?
I don't know who that is.
She's in the series Moms.
And I was
okay.
gonna say, and she was Tanya Harding's mother in I, Tanya.
Yes. Stephen Root here as Bubbles, which I forgot he was in this, and he does a phenomenal job as
Does a
Bubbles.
great job.
Joe Ranft is in here as Jacques, the aquarium's cleaner shrimp. We've talked about Joe Ranft before, a Pixar employee who tragically passed away. I believe this was his last Pixar role before he passed away, but I could be mistaken there. We have Jeffrey Rush as Nigel, the pelican in the film, which that surprised the crap out of me. Director Andrew Stanton voices Crush, the green sea turtle. You have Bob Peterson, who is a writer at Pixar, voicing Mr. Ray. And the one that surprised me the most, one of the voices of the sharks, the hammerhead shark, Anchor, voiced by Eric Bana.
Hulk
The Hulk.
Hulk himself.
And John Ratzenberger makes his appearance in this film, as he does in every Pixar film, as a school of fish. So off the top, just before we get into the nitty gritty of the plot and all that, thoughts on Finding Nemo? Alex.
So this is another one that I very much grew up with, and very vividly remember, but I haven't watched it in a long time. For some reason, this is one of the ones that I felt the least compelled to watch again, and now I remember why, because it's good. It's even great, but just comparing it to the echelon of even movies we've talked about so far, it's kind of lacking. It just doesn't, there's some good moments, but for the most part, it just kind of, I was surprisingly disappointed by the end of this, of just this was not as good as I remember, and maybe it's because I've been spoiled by having some of my favorite movies ever come after this movie from Pixar. So I don't know. I'm very curious to hear what you guys think about this, because it just kind of fell flat for me.
I'm kind of with you there in that I love this movie and what it does, but at times it's either forgetful or inconsequential. But I'm curious to see what the other guys have to think. TJ, what do you think of Finding Nemo?
So this is one I also I remember going to see this movie in theaters as a kid. I remember going with my dad, and I very much enjoyed this movie. I haven't watched it in a while, so it's interesting coming back to it. It's definitely Pixar's best movie technically. I mean, we say that every friggin' week. It's a running theme, but the way they handle the underwater and making you actually feel underwater rather than just it being blue everywhere.
So
it's also
just to put it in perspective, rendering a single frame at 1600 by 900, which is 1/24th of a second, could take up to 4 days due to the complexity of the underwater environments, the sun penetrating the water, and all of these other things. And also the surface of the water, Pixar developed technology specifically to render the water, but they had to make it look more fake because people saw the surface of the water and thought it was too real.
Oh.
So just to talk from a technical perspective, it's crazy what Pixar did for this movie.
Also, this is to me one of my probably most quoted Pixar movies, with Just Keep Swimming, with Fish Are Friends, Not Food, with Mine. It is definitely up there. And I honestly, I'd say so far, it's apart from the Toy Stories, it's Pixar's best movie so far.
Interesting.
Okay, this is going to be a fun one. Nick, what did you think?
We're hot taking.
Ooh, this is going to be a fun time. So this, much akin to what Alex said, like this is a movie that I watched a lot as a kid. Like we had the DVD. It was one of the few Pixar movies we actually had on a DVD or cassette.
Best-selling DVD of all time at the time.
And it was just one of those movies where I'd put it on when I would go to bed. So like this is like I've seen this movie so many times just by proxy of that. And I think myself and my family have developed this quotable, this very quotable thing with Nemo. I mean, there's a lot of times where my dad and my brother would go, Jellyman, offspring, Jellyman's jelly's sweet, totally. Like I feel like, and in that way, I feel like this movie is the closest thing that Pixar has to a top 40 single, a pop single, if that makes sense. Because man, it's catchy, it's quotable. I remember so many people when this came out and after this came out going, just keep swimming. To this day, it still happens. And I think that is what people remember, and that's why people hold it in such high regard. But I think overall, this is a pretty forgetful film. It does target the heartstrings at times, and there are great moments, but I think overall, pound for pound, this is nowhere near as good as any of the... Maybe better than... we'll get into the rankings later, but nowhere near like the top of the top for Disney.
Yeah.
Or Pixar.
I think a theme we see recur in Disney is just family dynamics. And I think what Pixar did here in terms of the father-son dynamic, everything that happened with the siblings and the mom at the beginning, which originally the film was storyboarded in a way that we weren't going to be shown that initial scene. It was going to be kind of like what did happen. You need to see flashbacks throughout the film, and they ended up scrapping that because it didn't test well. But they actually go back to that formula of doing the flashbacks for Finding Dory, and the way that she remembered, like things start coming back to her about her family and the way she grew up. So it's kind of interesting how things that might not work for one film do work for others, but we've had our say. And there's someone here that also deserves their fair shake. And that is my beautiful wife, Carmen, in a segment we like to call Carmi's Corner.
Carmi's Corner, Carmi's Corner, it's conspiracies, Carmi's Corner, Carmi's Corner, Carmi's Corner, getting those headphones on, oh no, Mitch is tiptoeing backwards, and Carmi's Corner. Thank you.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to Carmi's Corner. Carmi, what did you think of Finding Nemo?
I love Finding Nemo. It's very depressing, but it's a good movie.
I feel like that's a lot of like Disney or Pixar movies here on out, where it's just it's super depressing. But
sorry, just 1 second. Let me just fix myself here.
Fix the hair, fix the hair. Carmi's Corner, fix the hair. Okay.
Not food.
Fish are friends, not food.
Except for stinking dolphins, you know? Fuck those dolphins.
Yeah.
Being smarter than us and all that shit.
Better than everybody.
Boy, there we go. Yes, no, I like Finding Nemo. It's in my top 5. For sure. But yeah, like I said, it's depressing, but it's good. It has a good message, but it's sad. Is it sadder than Up? Yes. So, but yeah, for someone who doesn't like Up, have you seen Up? I don't remember.
I have.
You said
Yes.
you did see it. Okay.
That's a discussion for another
We'll get
episode.
there.
Though.
We'll
For
get
another
there.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's fast approaching.
Yeah.
So your conspiracy.
So conspiracy for this week. Mitch and I were actually talking about this when we watched it on Friday. Was that in the beginning of the movie, instead of that fish,
The barracuda.
that fish, I don't know what it's called. Is it a barracuda?
Yep.
So instead of the barracuda killing the family and Coral, it was actually Coral who went on a wild rampage and killed the family, and Marlin just made up the story.
Oh damn! Oh
Yeah.
fuck!
So
Nemo clownfish, they're cannibals.
Yes,
They
yeah,
eat
like
their,
they eat
they eat
babies.
their young. Yeah.
Well, that's in the watch party. Something that Cozy, part of the YYZ family, brought up was the fact that, what happened to the neighborhood? You know, like Are the neighbors dead? You know.
Mm.
Did they bring him? Did they bring Marlin a casserole? You know, these things were brought up.
Yeah, like did they move?
Yeah, right. Like, and how do you
I
move
think
an
they
enemy?
moved.
I think they moved. Yeah.
Because they don't. I'm pretty sure they don't live right at the drop off anymore.
What is the
No, they
housing
move.
market like in Nemo? You know, that's what we really need to figure
That's
out.
my segment, Nick.
Yeah, but like the other thing is too, is that so like Coral, like the thing Coral kills the family and everything, but she also kills Nemo, so Nemo doesn't exist. Because what Nemo means, yeah, like that's the other thing too. I'm actually reading that right now on my phone. The other thing is that Nemo doesn't exist because what Nemo actually means is no one. That's what Nemo actually. That's the meaning behind. That's what the name Nemo means is no one
Yo,
or nobody or something like that.
We're getting into Kingdom Hearts right now. You know.
Yeah. So let me just give me 1 second.
Like,
Uh.
so he's just on a fever dream journey. Like,
Yeah, so he's dealing with his depression and everything, and
I mean, he is hella depressed. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's saying the theory argues that the movie actually is about Marlin's dealing with the 5 stages of grief, so denial, anger, bargaining, despair, and acceptance. Marlin doesn't want Nemo to go to school. He gets angry, has him swim out too far, believes that he can be rescued. Seeing him get flushed, and then finally to let go of the acceptance of his son.
See, this theory totally makes sense, except they acknowledge Nemo. Other people acknowledge Nemo, and
Maybe
is it
Yeah.
shared hallucination?
Maybe he's a ghost.
So, yeah, like what it says is the possibility of this theory actually being true is very slim.
That's an
But-
interesting theory, though, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get
So
some
it
dark
kind of
theories
does
out there.
it gets broken though when you then account Finding Dory
Yeah.
and basically that entire movie.
That's true.
Yeah.
Maybe he's still seeing Nemo in his dreams. You know, he still sees
Yeah,
shadows
there
in
was
his room.
something
you know?
else that I read too. I think the next one's actually the next one's the Boo one. But yeah, so supposedly he's like a figment of his imagination or something. That's the other thing I read. But the thing with Coral killing the family and him making up the story, it does make sense.
Yeah.
That one a little bit more. I still feel like it's a bit of a stretch. I think these two. I think last week I said the conspiracy theory was the furthest removed. I feel like the Nemo's dead thing so far, but
Yeah,
I know
no,
there's some
but
wild
no.
ones that come up.
Now,
Yeah.
if you rearrange Nemo as a word, it's emo n, or emon, if you will. And so what do you got right there? E-money, okay? E-money. Bitcoin, okay?
See, this movie's about environmentalism and talking about how Bitcoins ruin the environment.
Especially in Australia.
Yeah.
You know?
The coral reef.
You know?
It's going away.
Well, it's also, if you arrange it, there's Iman. It's in Australia. That's close to Japan. Pokemon. Nemo's a Pokemon.
Oh, whoa! 6
Pokemon.
degrees for Pokemon.
Jeez.
All right. Any last thoughts, Carmen?
No, that's it. That's it for conspiracy theories this week.
That's it for
Yeah.
conspiracy
Alright.
theories.
I can only find one though. I couldn't find that many.
I feel like this one's kind
yeah.
of dry on conspiracy theories.
Oh
now.
my
Ah!
Oh my god.
It's funny because it's wet.
Water's
All right,
wet.
thank you, Carmen. You can send your boring husband back.
Carmi's corner, Carmi's corner. Are we gonna get the conspiracies? It's Carmi's corner, Carmi corner. Mitch is doing other things. Come on, Mitch, we gotta get back
All right,
to the
I'm
show.
not trying to rig the system here, but I've got a great argument on why this needs to be higher than Monsters Inc. And y'all better fucking agree with me. Okay.
God.
Welcome back.
Yeah, this is gonna be a hard sell.
I mean, so you sold me on Toy Story 2, okay? So, I mean, it's possible. This one's going to be an uphill battle, though.
Just remember that the whole thing with Toy Story 2, that's why you're both in this situation.
I mean,
That's it.
You've
I know.
done this
I know.
to yourself.
my
All right.
listen, very
You can
fast.
live with
These
your own
rankings very
failure.
fast, very dangerous. Okay.
All right, let's get into the plot of this movie. Very fast, very dangerous. And a very dangerous opening scene in which we see Coral and Marlin moving into their anemone with way more babies than I expected to see.
400.
Them fishes get their fuck on.
I mean, they don't. They just,
I mean, they definitely do.
ejaculate into eggs. You know.
It's a Pixar movie, of course they did. But they are rudely
Everyone's
interrupted by a nosy neighbor who decides that he wants to murder Marlin and Coral's entire family, except for one egg that Marlin is able to rescue or see after everything else is gone. It is damaged, though, and we see that when Nemo is born, he's got a lucky fin.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, water in this movie, real good. Looks real pretty.
Water
Yeah.
looking,
This scene with
especially
the-
underwater. I would say, like the underwater still looks stunning. I would say when they get above to the surface, it looks a little bit off, but for
Yeah.
that time, it looks really good. But still,
Well,
the
that's the thing
underwater
is,
looks real
It
good.
was going to look better,
Mhm.
but then people were freaked out by how good it looked.
And then they made Sea of Thieves. You know.
And then they
Yeah.
made Sea of Thieves. Yep. How does Marlin not get murdered by that barracuda?
I mean, he hides.
Oh yeah.
He got knocked into the anemone.
He got knocked out, but why would the? Oh yeah, that's right. He get knocked into them and then
And they'd shock him. They'd shock him,
Yeah.
you know. Ooh, barracuda. Mm-hmm.
Barracuda got its fill.
Well, no, barracuda got Coral.
And 399
all-
One of the
Like
kids probably was
399.
named Phil.
Well,
No,
Now he's
Marlin.
Phil.
Marlin.
Phil.
Half-
No.
But after this, it's time for school. We're introduced to Nemo and his lucky fin, and Marlin, being the overprotective father he is, we go out and we come back in, and then we go out and we come back in.
Nemo's a little
And then
young
one
for
more
sex
time.
ed, but
Yeah.
whatever Marlon wants to do.
And I think I overheard, like, they definitely moved after the atrocities that occurred at the drop off, which is why Marlin has such PTSD of that area, which we'll get into in a minute. But it's time to get Nemo to school, which Marlin does not want to do because he doesn't want to let his kid go, because it's the last kind of reflection he has of what could be a crazy, murderous wife that he's not really telling us about, but that's, already been discussed at length. So it's time to go to school with Mr. Ray and all the other kids, and then there's one that farts and does the ink thing, which is fun.
All right. How does this work?
All right.
Our
Fish
first
school?
How does fish school work? What is
They're a
the
school
point?
of fish.
What are they teaching the kids?
Water?
And my biggest
What
question:
are they teaching those kids?
Who gave a doctorate to this Steve Irwin killing motherfucker? He at one point he says he's a scientist. What university accepted him?
You don't need a doctorate to be a scientist.
I realized that after I said it, Mitch, but shut up. What school said this? What school admitted him?
Yo, this guy is
Maybe the school
doctorate
of fish
in-
we see later in the film.
This guy is a doctorate in liberal arts. Let me tell you.
Regardless, after a lot of pushing and pulling and making himself look very awkward in front of his neighbors and everybody, Nemo does end up going to school. They need to name the zones of the open sea, which is fun. Mr. Ray, everything they wrote for Mr. Ray is just great.
It's real good.
Such a fun character. And as all of us did in school, Nemo is dared to go out into the open sea off the drop off towards the butt. The butt.
Which
definitely a
I
butt.
didn't
Sandy
realize
Plankton
until
said.
this time around that the reason they call it the butt is one of the kids misheard boat, and they just
Broken
made the joke
telephone
even
underwater.
better.
You gotta love it.
It was Sandy Plankton. Sandy Plankton had a journey. I want to see where's Finding Sandy Plankton.
Maybe
like
she went to touch the butt and was also guppy napped in a similar way to Nemo, because
I wanna see
Nemo,
that story.
his dad shows up, says, "You can't do this, Nemo," and proves everyone wrong by touching the butt, but is then thoroughly guppy napped by some divers, and Marlin has his freak out and he chases the boat, and it looks great. The whole all the water physics there of like the engine, and then it's gone and everything's gone, and he's depressed and alone until he runs into Dory. And Dory definitely saw the boat. At this point, we're calling it a boat, right? I think we're calling it a boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just the kids that were calling it the butt.
Yeah.
So she saw the boat, and Marlin so excited. We're gonna find Nemo. Everything's gonna be great. And we find out about 30 seconds later that Dory suffers from short-term memory loss because she has no idea who the fuck Marlin is within 30 seconds of meeting.
How does she remember she has short-term memory loss?
That's a good
Because it's a long-term memory to remember she has short-term memory loss.
But when she get it after she started suffering from short-term memory loss?
Maybe it's like there's so
It's a repeated pattern. We see this over the film.
Exactly.
She starts to build memory long-term by repeating them. So she's just repeated it the way she repeats it later in the film that we all repeat to this day because no one can ever forget. But we'll talk about that specific thing in a bit. Enter Bruce.
Hello, Bruce.
Why are only some of the fish in this movie Australian? We know this movie takes place somewhere near Australia because they end up in Sydney. Spoilers. But you shouldn't be watching this if you haven't watched the movie because this whole thing's spoilers. So why are only some of the fish Australian?
I think it might just be like maybe how
is there
often
enough
they've
mass
interacted with
migration to fish
in
the ocean?
So I'm not gonna lie, dude. Like I have on that point. I hadn't put it together. Oh, everybody has an Australian accent because they're in Australia. It never came to, and here we are, 20 years later.
Gonna burn some bridges with people who live in Australia. Australians are funny, so all the characters you're supposed to laugh at are gonna be Australian. That's probably the reason. You can't have your main character be Australian, then you can't take them seriously. They talk weird.
I mean, he's a clownfish, you know?
But I mean, look at that Australian actually, he didn't do an Australian accent, though. That's fair.
Exactly.
Also, I will say, I do love that the shark is named Bruce, which was I don't know if they have this in your fun facts.
I read it. I didn't put it in there, but go ahead.
Okay. The shark being named Bruce, that was the name of the animatronic for the shark in Jaws.
Mm-hmm.
So,
also a great white shark, yeah.
Yeah.
Which,
I just one more thing with I specifically vividly remember the entire sequence with Bruce being the thing that terrified me from seeing movies in the theater for about like 3 to 4 years because it scared, like specifically like when Dory starts bleeding, and just I remember how loud it was in the theater. That was like my most vivid memories of like my first few experiences in the movie theater, and it terrified me for a while.
Listen, you had that. We had Toy Story. Let me tell you, terrifying.
I mean, I had Bad Boys too. So
who's really winning here?
Yeah, right.
Okay, so we run into Bruce. Bruce invites Marlin and Dory to a little get together he's having. Turns out it's AA for sharks, because we are then introduced to Chum and Anchor, again voiced by one Eric Bana, where we find out that all of these sharks vegetarian.
I've got two. How do these work? So first and foremost, when they're swimming up to their AA meeting, it's in a submarine surrounded by old mines. How did the sharks learn that they are explosive? Like,
I mean,
feel
it
like
only
if
takes
they,
one fish.
I feel like if they discovered it, they probably wouldn't be there unless they were from a distance. Like, it's something that caught me off guard. And she's like, "Oh, don't touch it; it'll explode." I'm like, "How do you know that?" And then the other thing, so during the whole AA intro, it's like, "Oh, fish are friends, not food." Like, I am not a bad guy. What people think of me, like change starts at home before it starts at other people's places. It's like, why do the sharks care about their image? How do they know they have a bad image? Did one of these sharks go to the school and get a PR degree at the same place the fucking stingray went?
I mean,
probably.
They have a good education system, you know?
For some reason, I've written down that Bruce is Nick, but I don't remember why I wrote that down. I just did. I just want to let that ruminate a little bit before moving on to the fact that
Also,
this party.
I just wanted to say another thing that I just got upon this viewing is Chum says a little chum for Chum, and it's because his name is Chum.
It is exactly why. But as Alex alluded to earlier, this party becomes a bloody good time as Dory gets a bloody nose and Bruce goes on a goddamn rampage. Now
I want to know why you said it was me.
I do too, and I don't remember why I wrote that down, but I did.
We'll get to it.
He must have said something, and I can't remember what it was. And I'm really upset now. But this whole chase through the submarine leads to what TJ alluded to earlier, some underwater fireworks. As all of the mines go off, why does the mine getting set off snap Bruce out of his rampage and not the fact that he's being a dick?
Spidey senses. He's the next Spider-Man, you know?
But he knows he's about to die if he doesn't move.
Could be that too. Swim away! Swim away! But we now see Nemo. We're back with Nemo, who's dropped into an aquarium in a dentist's office. And if you look very closely, the degree that the dentist had, as with most of the other characters in these movies, probably came from Pixar University. Just a little Easter egg there.
Also, how does this work? So the fish in the fish tank are literally watching his procedures and saying like, oh, is he using like this tool or that tool? Oh, he's doing it the wrong way. First and foremost, I get sitting there watching it. They'd eventually, over time, learn what he's doing. How do they know their real names? Do they understand human English?
100%. I think
not human English, Australian English. There's a difference.
Yeah. Again, we've established the Australians. They talk funny.
Sorry, Matt. We love you.
See, I think it's a thing where they understand us, but we don't understand them. You know. Maybe real life physics.
I sat there like, all these fish are dentists, apparently.
I mean, they're dental assistants at that point, right? They do all of the work. They know all of the things, but they get paid way less than the dentist themselves.
What if the dentist is just a horrible dentist, and the fish are actually the ones who went to the school for dental?
I mean, he is a horrible dentist. At some point, he accidentally pulls a tooth. We don't know if he's applied anesthesia to that area. The person screams, so he did not. So he's not a good dentist.
Going back, as we found out, there is high education, free. It seems like free high education down below. Let me tell you, and they've
free
got
as can
it
be on the
out.
open sea.
They've got it figured out. Let me tell you, we go to we go underwater, we figure out the fish's education system, and then we fix everything, and we've cured education, guys. That's how it works.
Yeah, clearly fish superior than us. We should figure it out.
We already knew that, but we do find out that the crux of Nemo being in the tank is that he is going to be a present for Darla, the dentist's niece. Right. And she is a known fish murderer. So why does her uncle keep giving her fish as a gift if all she does is murder the goddamn fish?
See, here's the thing. So, fish, the actual dentists in this dental office, okay? So what happens?
We've already established.
But what happens is you can't let these fish go back into the ocean and tell their friends, "Hey, I taught this human dental." Nah, he can't be seen as a hack. You know, what if one of these fish comes back up and tells this one guy, he's like, "Hey, I taught this guy how to be a dentist." You know, and then he comes back.
Why do these Australian fish now have a Boston accent?
Listen, I'm not even sure that this is his actual niece. You know, like maybe she is a hitman for fish. You know, and when he needs to get the job done, when he needs to shut these fish up,
to swim in with the fishes.
That's it. That's it. Done.
Jeez.
Why do I agree to keep hosting this show? All right. Either way, we're back with Marlin and Dory. They wake up. But they're trying to grab the goggles that they found that the divers had. And how did the diver just end up losing their mask? Like, did it just fall overboard?
Let me tell you, someone lives
in
America.
Did it get bumped off the boat? Okay, I missed
people lose their masks. You know.
All right. They didn't know. They didn't care who I was until I put on the mask. No, so they're trying to use this. They're trying to use this mask to figure out where the hell to go, but the mask falls into the abyss. And Dory tells Marlin, just keep swimming.
Just keep swimming.
What do we do? We swim. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming.
Taylor Swift
just
song,
keep swimming. The
abyss scene is what scared me when I was a kid.
Yeah,
100%. That fish is nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
That's a bloodborne boss.
Is it?
I'm
never playing that game.
no, but
okay. I would never play that game if that was the case. But either way, Marlin and Dory follow the mask down into the abyss. They don't find it, but they do find a nice glowy little light and are attracted to the glowy little light. And the glowy little light is attached to a fish that go and murder the crap out of them. Chase scene ensues. We also figure out that Dory can read human for some reason. So she's able to determine that the mask says P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney. And off we are towards that there, Sydney, Australia. But in the meantime, we're back in the tank. Nemo is still feeling like a fish out of water. And he is...
I hate you.
I mean, your what was yours, TJ? Yours was, I guess it's a little dry. Is that much better? Is that much better?
I'm not saying I'm better.
You created this
monster. I'm not saying I'm better. I'm saying boo.
That was good, okay? That was really
that was actually pretty good.
Either way, tank ceremony, Nemo's inducted into the ranks by swimming through the Ring of Fire.
I thought you said the Ring of Fire!
Either way, the fish in the tank share their plan with Nemo on how they're going to get out, get back to the ocean, get him back to his dad. And Marlin and Dory keep on swimming, and they swim their way right into a school of fish voiced by Pixar's notorious man of all the VOs, John Ratzenberger. We get a fun scene here, which inspired a mini game on the DVD that I was reminded of while we were watching this in the Discord, which was a ton of fun as a kid, just playing around with that. But pales in comparison to the phenomenal Finding Nemo video game that we got on a number of different systems when that came out.
Was it phenomenal?
I played it on the Game Boy Advance, and that side-scrolling fish game was in fact a video game.
It's literally an entire game made up of the underwater level. Nobody liked it. It was not very good.
Toy Story 2, the video game, it ain't. Yep. Okay?
Yeah, there's no beating Toy Story 2.
It is not Incredibles Rise of the Underminer. Not by
or the Incredibles. Actually, audience know. The plan as we get further into this series, as the games are available, a lot of these games are available on either like the Switch or Xbox backwards compatibility. We go and play some of these terrible games, and it's going to be a time.
Incredibles.
That tells you what. Yeah. Either way, the School of Fish lets them know where they should be heading at the East Australian Current, and that'll take you right down towards Sydney. And then we meet Squishy, and it will be my Squishy, and I love Squishy. But turns out, let me roll it back a second. Marlin tricks Dory via her short-term memory loss to not listen to the instructions given to them by the fish, and this comes up on occasion of Marlin not listening to Dory when he really should have, because Dory knew what was the right thing to do, and he's being stubborn as he is throughout the entirety of this film. TJ, go ahead.
So this is my second last. How does this work?
Good.
She screams out and it echoes. It can't echo underwater, can it?
Fish can't talk. Fuck off.
Okay.
I mean, dolphins use some form of echolocation. We also see in the sequel to Finding Nemo that one of the whale in the exhibit uses echolocation.
Echolocation is different than a verbal echo.
Is it?
It seems like it's the same principle.
It's similar.
Either way, let's not talk about the sequel. We'll talk about that later on.
Let's go ask the PhD fish,
Yeah.
They're smart.
Either way, Marlin and Dory end up going above the trench rather than through it and meet Squishy, and it will be my Squishy, and I love Squishy, and then are immediately surrounded by dozens upon dozens of jellyfish. Fun fact, if you look closely enough, there are jellyfish that form a hidden Mickey in this scene.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah. I didn't catch it till I went back and rewatched the scene. But yeah, there's definitely a hidden Mickey in there.
This scene, even though it's horrifying in the fact that jellyfish, dangerous, very slow, very dangerous, and I just get echoes of Enya every time I watch this. I don't know why. It's just what I think when the jellyfish scene comes up, because it's like all pink and like they're floating and all that. Just Enya, man, sail away, sail away, sail away. Mm-hmm.
Well, they don't choose to sail away, but Marlin turns it into a game of just jump on the jellyfish to get through as fast as you can, but only touch the tops. He makes it through no problem. Dory, not so much. He's built up an immunity to the stings in some fashion, like just to a certain degree, from living in an anemone. So he has to go back rescue Dory, and it doesn't go quite to plan, and he passes out. We're back in the dental office. The fish realize they have exactly 4.2 minutes because the dentist has taken the Reader's Digest into the bathroom, and they decide they must use this opportunity to execute Order 66.
That's a fast.
Wait, no, that's a different order. This one is just swim into the filter and block it with a pebble.
I like it.
It's a 4.2 minutes. That's a fast poop.
That is a fast. Well, they didn't have phones back then, you know.
But he's a dentist. He can take as long of a break as well. That's the problem with being self-employed, right? You're being paid to poop, but at the same time, you're running your own business, so you have to be responsible for the results.
You're making the pay to poop.
Exactly. Whereas, you know, Joe Schmo on the street who's got a job and has to poop, you enjoy that poop because
boss makes a
paid
dollar.
to poop.
I make a dime. That's why I poop on company time.
Wow.
Either way, the plan is as follows. Nemo is to jump into the filter. Gil will toss him a pebble, use the pebble to block the filter, and swim out through the intake of the filter. So all of this goes to plan. Nemo's able to get it all done, but as he's trying to get out the intake, the pebble pops out. He's nearly eviscerated by the spinning thing at the end of this.
Yeah.
The filter spinny thing. And the rest of the fish are able to get him out safely, but they realize the plan it's not going to work.
Yeah, Gil 100%. Being so guilty. No pun intended.
More guilty. What a story, Alex.
It's okay, because at this point we meet the most bro character in all the Pixar cinematic universe, Crush.
Whoa,
best character.
Yeah, he was great.
Well,
okay.
Fun about this is Andrew Stanton, the director of the film, is the one who provided the voice of Crush. He never intended to be the choice for the voice of Crush, and only did it for the film's rough cut, but it was popular in screen tests, so they left it for the final film. He recorded all of Crush's dialogue lying on the couch in his office.
I believe it. It definitely gives that vibe.
Gives
that vibe.
That's awesome. I do. Okay. This is my last how does this work? But this is also the most serious because I hate to admit this, but the East Australian current, I thought it was a real thing until about maybe, when did we watch this movie? 2 days ago? It's not. Like,
I mean,
dude, for 25 years of my life, I thought it made sense. There was a highway underwater that just the current, but I'm dumb.
You know what? I'm gonna soothe you over, TJ. Again, I didn't realize that people talked Australian spoke Australian. That sounds weird. They had an Australian accent because they were from Australia. Okay, I just want to.
I'll do you one better, TJ. I thought the East Australian current was real until about 60 seconds ago. So,
thank you, Mitch. Thank you.
I got you. So yeah, we get this fun interaction between Marlin and Crush. He calls him Mr. Turtle. Like, dude, nah, Mr. Turtle's my father.
That's such a great line too.
It's so good. And we find out Dory is playing with the kid. She looks injured when we first see her, but she's actually doing fine. And then they go for a ride, dude. And my question here, why isn't this experience in the Eastern Australian current a theme park ride?
Because it doesn't exist in the real life, so why do it,
yeah.
you know?
Actually,
they don't want to continue tricking people.
Eastern Australian current is a real thing. However, not nearly as fast as it's depicted in the film.
Okay.
So I'm not as dumb as I thought I
Listen.
was.
As we established, our education system not as experienced as the underwater education system.
Hold on a second. I am wrong.
What?
I can fully admit when I'm wrong, because guess what is an actual theme park ride at a Disney park?
Oh, the
East
East
Australian.
Australian current?
The experience of going down the Eastern Australian Current is an experience at one of Disney's parks, and that will carry us into our segment, Pixar's Guys Talk Theme Park Ride.
We're Pixar guys, we're talking theme park rides, we're Pixar tides, we're tides. Okay, there we go. That's it. Pixar tides.
Great. Welcome to the thing Nick just messed up pronouncing.
Yep.
And I'll be your host for this because I'm the only one of the four of us who's been to a Disney park. I didn't know until today that at Walt Disney Studios Park at Disneyland Paris, there is a spinning roller coaster called Crush's Coaster, which is themed after the film Finding Nemo, named after Crush. Most of it is enclosed. There's some dark ride elements to it as well, but that's cool, and I want to ride that if I can ever go to Europe. So yeah, that's cool. We've also got... No, that's what I know. I'm trying to start with the stuff I don't know so then I can talk about the things I've actually experienced. We have the Finding Nemo Submarine Voyage at Disneyland Park in Anaheim, California. This was originally 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, I believe.
Makes sense.
The original attraction was called Submarine Voyage, and it was rethemed in 2003 after the film Finding Nemo. In it, you do get into a submarine that goes into the water, and then there are like portholes and stuff, and they have screen elements in them where you get some of the fish come along and they do fish things. And there's things in the water that are fun to look at. It's kind of neat, the fact that there's this nice little... I mean, it's probably air conditioned, which if you're in California in the heat of the summer, that's probably nice. But yeah, there are actually 8 submarines that the ride uses that were from the original attraction. And yeah, that's neat. But let's get to the meat and potatoes of it all. And that is the collection of Finding Nemo themed attractions at Walt Disney World Resort in Orlando, Florida. And those are Turtle Talk with Crush, The Seas with Nemo and Friends, and Finding Nemo the Musical. Where do you guys want to start?
The musical.
Yeah, let's do the musicals.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Finding Nemo the Musical is a live action puppet show at Disney's Animal Kingdom Resort in Walt Disney World. It is a 40-minute show that premiered in November of 2006. The music is composed by husband and wife duo Robert and Kristen Anderson Lopez, who were also the primary songwriters on the Frozen films and wrote all of the theme songs to Marvel Studios' WandaVision.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I didn't know that until just now. This it's in a theater, so it's in an enclosed theater. It's really nice if you're in Disney World on a really hot day, you want some air conditioning. Great way to do that. That's what me and my wife did when we were there. I didn't realize there was an attraction here before this, and TJ is going to hate this because guess what it replaced? The Tarzan Rocks musical experience.
They probably couldn't get Phil Collins there, so
Probably. Makes sense.
Okay. So the songs for this musical adaptation of Finding Nemo were written by, Tony Award winning Robert and Kristen Anderson Lopez, who would go on to work a ton with Disney. And it's a great little show. There's some like bubble effects and things. It's a lot of fun and a great way to get out of the sun when you're feeling the heat in muggy Orlando, Florida. The other 2 attractions are both at the Seas Pavilion of Epcot, Turtle Talk with Crush and The Seas with Nemo and Friends. Turtle Talk with Crush is not something I should have sat in on, but we did anyway, because this is an educational show meant for children who sit on the floor cross-legged and Crush teaches them all about the seas.
You're just
should not have been there as 25, 26
You're
year olds.
just like Billy Madison, just sitting there.
exactly what it was. It's exactly what it was. The other attraction in this area, the Seas with Nemo and Friends, is the best thing about this attraction. Outside of it, there's a rock structure that says, the name of the ride or whatever. On top of it, animatronic seagulls that every few seconds go, boing, 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 boing.
Yeah, it's
boing,
hilarious.
boing, and it's great. But this is a dark ride, so it's similar to other rides like the Haunted Mansion or the Little Mermaid ride in Magic Kingdom, where you go and you sit in a shell and it takes you along a track, and there's like fish tanks and things like that, and then again there's screens similar to the ride in Disneyland California with the submarines, where superimposed on this aquarium you get a screen that has like the characters come by and they say things, and it's fun. But yeah, that is the Disney attraction guide for the film Finding Nemo.
Theme park rides, we're Pixar guys, talking theme park rides. Yeah, I brought it around. Woo! I like the addition. Woo!
At this point, Marlin gets a great nickname. Everyone's been calling him the Jelly Man.
Jelly Man.
Who wouldn't want to be called the Jelly Man?
Sweet. Totally.
And Marlin gets some great parenting advice from an unexpected place, and that's Crush, because knowing sea turtles and the way that they let their kids kind of go off, do their own thing, come back to them, it's the opposite of the way that Marlin would do his parenting. And it's just, at some point you got to let them go and do their own thing. So very, very good stuff there. And thus begins the greatest game of broken telephone in the history of the planet. Where the story of Marlin and Dory makes its way without losing any detail from the turtles all the way to Nigel, who lets Nemo know that his dad's on his way, which Nemo does not believe at first until he somehow knew Marlin's name from all these stories, where if we can't get Boat to a bunch of kids, the fuck they get the name of Marlin from the turtles to Nemo.
Interspecies telephone too.
This, I guess this just proves underwater education system far superior.
That's right.
At every term, we're getting proved more and more right.
We're dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fish smarter than us.
Yeah.
I mean, we're definitely dumb because we're 4 grown adults sitting here on a Sunday afternoon talking about Disney Pixar movies for fun.
Jokes on you.
And the education and the education systems. They're very important.
Yeah. Specifically,
there's a lot we can learn.
Education.
So Nemo really doesn't believe the things he's being told, but then Nigel goes on to recount everything that's happened to Marlin over the course of the film, including beating up 3 sharks and all these other things. Wouldn't these stories have been better coming from Marlin than to have been told to him by this random pelican he met a day ago?
I mean, yeah, but
but they're only short recaps.
Yeah, you gotta give hope to Nemo.
Yeah.
Well, either way, Nemo sees this as a reason to live, and against all odds is able to get back into the filter, block it without any assistance, because he's now determined to meet his dad out in the bay now that he knows his dad's on his way. And it's time to get gross, everybody. Burping, pooping, swimming in it for days to get this fish tank gross enough that the dentist has to put them in bags outside the tank.
I love their plan is essentially just shit as much as possible.
So they went to go get Taco Bell and Arby's.
Fun fact, I had Taco Bell last night. Can confirm. Makes you poop. We then... Oh, yeah. So earlier in the film, Nemo asks his dad how old are sea turtles, or like they can get to whatever age. So we get this whole fun scene of, Crush sends off Marlin and Dory, but he has to ask, how old's Crush? 150, dude. Still young. Which, very cool, very fun that he, did this thing for his son. And thus begins the worst game of I Spy in the history of I Spy, where it's Dory and Marlin swimming along, and everything Dory sees is just Marlin.
I mean, there's a lot of ocean there,
There is, and then they run into this little shadowy thing, and they try to talk to it. Turns out, not a little shadowy thing, big ass whale, but it's okay because Dory speaks whale and attempts to do so. but then they lose it, and it's fine though because whales don't eat fish; they eat krill. In which immediately a bunch of krill swim by, telling them to swim away because the whale gonna eat them, and the whale ate them.
And that's when Marlin and
The movie
Dory.
ends.
Well, Marlin and Dory met Geppetto and Pinocchio, and it was a very nice time. Very nice time. Very
And
nice
they had
place
to
they
see,
have.
they had to seal the keyhole in
Exactly.
Monstro.
Exactly.
I also never realized that whales' teeth were like straw.
Yeah, they're like
they
little
don't-
bristles. They're like little bristles,
They're like
That's
a toothbrush, yeah. No.
Wow.
So yeah, they're dead, but either way, we're back in the tank. It's gross as fuck. And
They're
everything's going
dead.
according to plan. Oh look, turns out they're not dead. They're not dead. They're just hanging out in the whale's belly. And they got to get out of the whale. So Dory continues to try to talk to the whale, and that's not happening. Or she thinks it's happening, but Marlin doesn't believe her. And then Dory just asks her to trust him, and he does. And it turns out the whale was just being a friend, not food, like most fish
That
are.
scene is fucked up, by the way. It's literally
100%.
like, hey, there's a 50-50 chance you're either about to die or live. Trust me, the one with short-term memory loss.
That you met yesterday.
Yeah.
Either way, they get out of the whale. It's great, and they're in the bay. They made it to Sydney, but Gerald, a friend of Nigel's, doesn't know how to eat food and is immediately choked the fuck out by Marlin and Dory because they just will not be swallowed by him. But Nigel recognizes what's going on, goes to help, lets him know that I know your son. I can take you to your son, and they basically have to choose between trusting this pelican or being eaten alive by seagulls. And they choose the pelican, which smart because those seagulls real freaky.
Mine.
Mine. Then we get the whole scene where the fish wake up and the dentist actually changed the filter out overnight, and they're fucked because now there's no way for them to get back to the ocean. Darla shows up. Nemo's in a bag. A whole bunch of commotion takes place. The pelican, how often is this pelican fucking up this dentist's office that he has a strategy for getting the bird out of the fucking office?
I mean,
I'd say fairly often.
Maybe he's the one who's teaching the dentist as well.
He
He
tries to
dental
He
tools.
does know the dental stuff.
He try as he might. We then see that Nemo tragically swimming upside down, which is never a good sign for fish. Thankfully, he's just faking it though, which Marlin and Dory don't see, unfortunately. And he's able to get away from Darla and down the spit hole of the dentist spit hole bowl thing that I don't know the name of, so that's what I'm gonna call it. And escapes out to the ocean. Marlin, dejected, is just fed up with life. He's given up at this point. Dory, however, not so much. And turns out Nemo's alive and well and runs into Dory. And Dory's able to somehow remember everything, even though she doesn't remember things. Probably, again, like we talked about earlier, repetitive patterns are helpful for dealing with her short-term memory loss, and knows that we need to get Nemo back to Marlin. They try to do that, but are then captured in a fishing net. And that whole thing happens where why aren't fish doing this more regularly of just, if we all swam down, we wouldn't die?
Because fish are dumb.
I mean,
Education.
They
We've
didn't go
already
to
established
school.
they're educated.
They didn't go to school. They didn't.
Yeah,
they didn't have the.
They're already a school of fish, so they only have to teach each other. So
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And they don't know much. So Marlin comes in and teaches them all. They got to swim down, and they do. And they ruin that fisherman's livelihood because they destroy his boat. But thankfully, Nemo and Dory are then safe and reunited with Marlin. And it's all happy, except TJ is going to say something and ruin it.
Well, I do want to point out during this whole scene where they are pushing down, trying to escape, the Discord call we were on doing a watch party is all talking about what fish makes the best sushi. So while we're watching these fish trying to save their lives, they're talking about which one they'd rather gut and eat raw.
I mean, it's salmon.
The answer is salmon, right?
It's salmon.
I don't
it's
know. I
100%
don't eat fish, so
100%.
We're taking you for sushi
yeah,
when this
it's-
pandemic
it's-
ends, and you'll enjoy it. God damn
I
it!
don't eat fish. I'm allergic.
It's okay. Neither does Carmen. You and her can just split the beef and vegetarian stuff.
Dope.
All right. Either way, they're all reunited, and the mantra of "just keep swimming" comes back, and everything's great. And then they're back on the reef, and they're doing school things again, and it's nice. And I don't remember anything else that happens after this.
And the
point.
sharks are there and friends too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is crazy because as soon as someone has a bloody nose, Bruce is going to go on a murdering spree, and everyone's going to
It's gonna
die.
be the Barracuda situation all over again, you know. Maybe this is just a cycle. This film might just be Groundhog Day, you know. Like maybe it's just a cycle. Maybe they thought they saw a Barracuda, but actually they saw Bruce. You know, it's just
All
a
I'm
cycle.
saying-
Or maybe Coral went on a murdering spree and ate all of her
Or
offspring
maybe
and
that.
said,
I'd like to think that Coral and the Barracuda worked together to kill all of her children.
Mhm.
Wait,
and
so
the, and
Coral
the
was
dentist
fucking the
too.
Barracuda all along?
Yes,
yes.
that's why we never see a body for her.
Yep.
She's gone because she went off with the Barracuda.
And the dentist at this point is saying, "Hey, the education system's too good. We can't let them live." So he also
gotta
was
start
swimming
taking
down
fish.
there.
The third film in this series is essentially going to be taken underwater,
Murder
and it's going to be called Finding Coral because he's got to figure out what happened to all his
He
kids.
wants
little kids.
revenge.
Murder
He's
on
I
the
was
Orient
gonna say,
Express. You
The
know?
real Finding Nemo or Finding Nemo 2 or Finding Dory, whatever, should have been Bruce went on that rampage, and it's just a Punisher style flick of Marlin getting
Jesus
revenge.
Christ,
It's just
dude.
John Wick. You know?
Okay. Well, that's the end of the film. I don't know if anyone else has anything they want to add of those end scenes, but it's kind of whatever for me.
Yeah.
Well, it's also Gil and the gang managed to
Oh, yeah, the
escape
gang gets
using
out of
their
the tank,
original
but they're-
plan, but they're stuck
but-
floating.
They're
Stuck in
bags.
plastic bags and hadn't thought that part through. Which, why wouldn't they have asked Nigel to come along and just break open the bags?
I mean, maybe they did at the end of it, you know.
No, they're just.
But
dead.
if they're just in those bags in the Australian sun, it looked like summer. If they're in those bags too long, they're just going to bake.
Also, pufferfish.
Yeah.
Just expand.
Yeah. I mean, Nigel seems to come around a lot, you know. So
Or maybe they just got to swim down.
yeah.
Just keep swimming. That's the answer to
Yeah,
everything,
yeah.
apparently. Okay. For a first in our Pixar review series, we do not have an entry for Rank the Randys. This was the first film not composed by Randy Newman. Do
But it
we
was
want
a
to add
Newman.
anything to that list anyway?
Yep.
But it was a Newman.
It's in the
It was.
and it's
The Newman Cinematic Universe.
and I feel like in honor of Mr. Newman, we keep it going, even though it's called Ranking the Randys. We
Yeah.
put it all under Randy. You know,
Yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
unless we change the name of it.
no,
Nah,
something
rank
with
the
Newman.
Randys. We're too
Still-
far in.
All right,
Rank
Rank the Randys. Where do we want to put Dan Newman's
wait,
score
wait,
on the
wait.
list of
What's
Rank
the
the
what's the
Randys?
wait,
list?
we need the song. We need the song.
All right, song first.
Ranking the Randys. Okay, there you go. Now you can go.
Thank you. So the list as it stands for Rankin' the Randys, at number 6, we have Strange Things. At number 5, we have Randy Newman's score in A Bug's Life. Number 4 is Sailing. Number 3, When Someone Loves Me. At number 2, we have If I Didn't Have You. And number 1, the iconic You've Got a Friend in Me. So where does-
above Bug's Life?
Yeah.
That
I'm good.
Wait,
song
which
is
which
good.
so- which
It's
song
more-
is it? I
The-
guess.
Well,
This
just
one-
the score.
Just the score in general.
But the
There's
song
no-
for
there's
this
no
one, it's
song.
yeah, I don't think
Under the
there's a-
Sea.
I'd put it. Yeah, see that's the thing is like that song is like
It's not an original song.
It's a
That's
Bobby
my
Darin song, you know. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
So
I think
I think it's better
honestly,
than
I
Bug's
think
Life, but
I don't think it's better than A Bug's Life. I think Randy Newman's score there is more iconic than what we got here.
I mean, I think
It's
can't
more
tell you
memorable.
anything.
for
I think
me.
Under the Sea.
I can't remember anything from this movie, and we watched it 2 days ago.
Honestly,
I can't remember anything from
Honestly.
any of the songs from Bug's Life.
Yeah,
like,
I got no horse in this race.
I'm gonna say below A Bug's Life,
All right.
all right then.
So
just because it's
Newman-
not an original song.
Yeah. Oh, see, that's why I don't think it should go higher on the list. But I knew like it's a memorable song more than I can't tell you what.
Well, it's
did in Bug's
it's a
Life.
memorable song because it's a song that's played, you know, everywhere. I would say.
I still associate it with Finding Nemo as well.
I associate it with BioShock.
All right. It doesn't matter because at this point we got to move on to our next
Mhm.
ranking, and that's of all of the Pixar shorts that accompanied these films, whether that be theatrically or on home video release. The short. Do we have a song for the shorts? think so.
I don't think we do, but we can do
No.
Cool.
shorts.
Everybody!
Okay, there we go.
All right, whatever. The short that accompanied this film was 1989's Knick-Knack. directed by John Lasseter. I remembered this one from being a kid. I did not realize it was as old as it was when it came out with this.
It holds
I
up.
also didn't realize it was as horny as it was.
Just
It's
want, yeah,
horny.
you just wanted to.
Super
fuck.
thirsty.
I'm gonna
I
be
gotta
honest.
keep talking. I gotta get on my list.
I put this under Tin Toy.
Well,
Like, Tin Toy was more memorable than this. This didn't feel like, and I do have to keep in mind when it was made. I do have to try and keep that in mind. But like, I felt like Tin Toy, at least the few minute story that they were telling is more heartfelt than Knick Knack. Knick Knack just wanted to fuck, and I wasn't getting behind that.
Remember this, Alex. Just remember what you're saying, okay?
okay, so as the list stands, at number 4 we have Tin Toy, number 3 For the Birds, number 2 we have Luxo Jr., and at number 1 we have Jerry's Game. So by show of hands, who thinks Knick Knack is better than Tin Toy? Everyone but Alex raises their hand.
Fair.
By show of hands, who thinks Knick Knack is better than For the Birds?
Wow.
Same 3 hands are up. Who thinks Knick Knack is better than Luxo Jr.? Everyone's hands went down. So as the list stands, at number 5 we have Tin Toy, number 4 we have For the Birds, and number 3 we have Knick Knack, number 2 Luxo Jr., and in the number 1 spot, Jerry's Game.
Wow.
Okay.
All right. So
This is
before
gonna
we
be
get
fun.
into the ranking,
All right.
I am taking a second to monologue.
Expression
I have
cake.
a 5-point reason on why this movie, Finding Nemo, deserves number 1 on our list.
I'm gonna
and is
direct you over
better
to
than
his
Monsters Inc.
I'm going to direct you over to his PowerPoint presentation.
All right, so I'll save the best for last. And remember what you just fucking said, Alex. Keep that in mind. So first, technical best Pixar to date. They had to create technology for water that people thought were too real, so they had to dumb their work down. Beautiful movie. 2, quotes, most quotable movie in Pixar. 3, best selling. 4, what did I write that? Oh, the Academy Award nomination. Now, the one that's actually meat and potatoes here. Number 5. This is Pixar's best story apart from Toy Story. But because of this screwed up list and how Monsters Inc. is better than Toy Story 1 and 2, we have to put this at number 1 because the characters actually develop in this movie. Yes, in Monsters Inc., Sully likes people at the end and Mike makes jokes, but there's no real progression. Dory, who had no family, who did not know what was going on, she was just swimming, has family, has friends, has a home. Marlin was a scared little bitch at the start of this movie. Now, he's not as much. He's a little hesitant, but he lets his son live. Nemo gets to explore his life. Gil, he feels bad putting Nemo's life at risk and then escapes. Everybody grows in this movie. Bruce, he tries to kill Dory and Marlin and becomes their friend at the end. Like, even the teacher gets more students. How's better off than he was before? Every character in this movie progresses, has a story arc that it evolves in some way. Monsters Inc. has none of that. And for that alone, this should be number 1. And if you guys don't agree with me, y'all are fake.
Okay, do we want to say anything else, or would you just want to get right to ranking it after that?
just
long
go right
answer?
to
right
ranking.
into the ranking.
Okay, so the list as it stands, at number 4 we have A Bug's Life, at number 3 we have Toy Story, at number 2 we have Toy Story 2, and our number 1 film, Monsters Incorporated. Who thinks that this, by show of hands, is a better film than A Bug's Life? Everyone's hand is up. Keep them up. By show of hands, who thinks this is a better film than Disney Pixar's Toy Story?
I hate you all! They're all...
Hey, TJ, you want to know something else has a Oscar nom?
Yeah.
Oscar win, Suicide Squad. Okay? Just remember that.
I hate
Just
you
remember that.
all.
Everyone's hand went down except TJ. So our new list, as it stands, at number 5, A Bug's Life. At number 4, Finding Nemo. At number 3, Toy Story. At number 2, Toy Story 2. And continuing to be our number 1 film, as much as TJ hates it, Monsters, Inc.
It's not even that good!
It's fucking fantastic.
No!
It is.
Nemo is
You
Thank
did this
you.
to yourself. You
Thank
did
wait
this
till
to
the
yourself.
final
Just-
podcast.
Just
What?
wait. TJ will have our day. We will have our day.
Disagree.
Nemo ain't the one to fight for. Nemo ain't the one to fight for, okay?
Yeah, are you sure you want to die on this hill, TJ?
I want to die on the hill that Monsters is not as good as 4 other movies on this list.
I agree with that.
3 other, actually.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of YYZ Video. If you enjoyed what you just took in for some strange reason, be sure to check out Press YYZ wherever you can find us. Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, podcast services everywhere. Just search Press YYZ or YYZ Video. And as always, the rest of the crew are on their socials. I can be found everywhere at Mr. Mitch George. TJ?
You can find me over at Private Jeebus. That's PVTTJEBUS. I'm also accepting applications for a new podcast, as these guys have no taste.
Yo, hey, I'm not the one. I'm not the one, okay? Remember?
Toy
Story 2. Toy Story 2 and Monsters Inc. Not a thing, you know?
My second favorite co-host who agreed with me on Monsters Inc., Alex Ballant. Where are you found?
Instagram at blatantly Alex, Twitter blatantly_Alex, and Letterboxd where you can see the correct list. Alex loves memes.
Nick Blaine.
You can find me over at youtube.com/ShockandMakePain. There's not a whole lot happening over there, but maybe there is. And then you can also find my shenanigans over at MC Fixer and more MC Fixer, where I'm doing some editing over there, doing some great edits. Also, TikTok.com/MC Fixer. I believe it's also, you can just search MC Fixer. And, of course, you can follow me everywhere at Shock and McPain, spelled like Max Payne.
Again, until next time, we'll see you at the movies.